Hi there, and welcome to a special edition of Lore of the Cards, the series that helps you discover the lore hidden in your Hearthstone deck. To celebrate the release of the Curse of Naxxramas one-player adventure, we are going to uncover the lore associated with this World of Warcraft raid. We will spend an episode on each quarter, hopefully releasing each week, and finishing up with a full-on Lore of the Cards episode about Kel'Thuzad, the raid's final boss. If you want to find out more about the raid's lore, Blizzard wrote a great little summary of it on the Hearthstone website, which I've linked in the description below. I will look to go into more depth, but some of the bosses will have very simple lore to back them up. We will start with the first wing that's been released, the Arachnid Quarter. But before that, let's learn a little about Naxxramas itself and how it came to be. His kingdom suffering, his subjects dying and turning into undead. The noble Prince Arthur set out to stop the plague that was ravaging his father's empire. However, his unyielding and at sometimes extreme determination saw Prince Arthur's fall into the hands of his enemy, the leader of what became known as the undead scourge of Lordaeron, the Lich King. Using the runeblade Frostmourne to corrupt Arthas, the Lich King turned the prince into his most trusted soldier and the first of his Death Knights. Arthas returned home, murdered his father, and became king of a chaotic Lordaeron, his undead minions destroying all those that opposed him. Arthas' reign was short-lived, as others sought to kill his master, the Lich King. Under assault, the Lich King's power waned, and he called for Arthas to come and defend him. As he was about to leave to aid his master, Arthas would have been killed by the Banshee Queen, Sylvanas Windrunner, if it had not been for his loyal second-in-command, the Lich Kel'Thuzad, who chased her away. Under siege, the Lich King was losing his grip on some of the undead. Before leaving, Arthas placed Kel'Thuzad in charge of his kingdom. He travelled to the Lich King, became one with his master, and turned into an even more powerful ruler. In Arthas' absence, Kel'Thuzad made the Nerubian-built Naxxramas his base of operations, floating high above the territory known as the Eastern Plaguelands, spreading the plague that turned the living into Arthas' unquestioning servants. The giant Ziggurat first fell under Scourge rule when the Crypt Lord Anub'arak led an undead army into the citadel, defeating the living Nerubians found inside. Crypt Lords were powerful Nerubians, once the rulers of their people, now strong assets to the Lich King. The king made Naxxramas a training ground for some of his deadliest soldiers. Through some dark magic, the massive structure was wrenched from the earth and brought to float over the Plaguelands. Kel'Thuzad split the fortress into 4 specialised sections to better train his soldiers. He was likely helped in this endeavour by his subject Obrahim the Traveller, a once skeletal peon whose skills in architecture impressed Kel'Thuzad enough for him to become an advisor to the Great Lich. Obrahim's work was heavily inspired by the Nerubians and the magics of Orcish warlocks. When last seen, Obrahim was setting out on a mission to study the ruins of Zinashari, which used to be the capital of the Night Elves. Defending his master's kingdom was no easy feat for Kel'Thuzad, as he was under attack from several different factions. The Scarlet Crusade, an extreme organisation that looked to purge the world of all undead. The Forsaken, who are now allied with the Horde. Undead that were no longer controlled by the Lich King, now under the rule of Sylvanas Windrunner. The Argent Dawn, a group that splintered from the Scarlet Crusade to allow other races as well as humans to join their organisation. You will not be the first to venture into Naxxramas, as Darian Mograine, a member of the Argent Dawn, led his own assault on the Bastion, which you'll find out about as we continue through this series. The Alliance sought to crush the undead scourge found in Lordaeron. Kel'Thuzad also had to deal with attacks from all races of the Alliance and Horde. When the horrors of Naxxramas were released, the scourge began to once again dominate the territory. Naxxramas did undergo a change of location, but this will be covered in the Kel'Thuzad episode. The Arachnid Quarter has a creepy, crawly theme. Spiders scuttle through the halls, and the Arachnid-like Nerubians roam through the section. The most powerful Nerubian to be found in the walls of Naxxramas is Anub'rekhan, a crypt lord that is constantly thinking about his stomach.
Which one shall I eat first? So difficult to choose. They all smell so delicious. Yes, run! It makes the blood pump faster.
The Nerubians were descended from the Akir, an intelligent insectoid race that was created by the first rulers of Azeroth, the evil old gods. The Akir were constantly at war with the then huge Troll Empire. While they did not suffer a true defeat at the hands of the Trolls, the Akir were split and travelled to 3 different parts of the land. Here they evolved into several different variants. Those that travelled to the deserts of Silithus became the Karaji, those that travelled to the far south, Pandaria, became the Mantid, and those that travelled to the north became the Nerubians. The Nerubians defeated the Tol'vir that lived in Northrend, a race of cat-like centaurs, and adapted the buildings of this race to suit their own needs, becoming the dominant force in the continent of Northrend. Thousands of years later, the Nerubians would have to try and deal with the greatest threat to their empire, the Lich King. The king was spreading his plague of undeath through the continent. Those that were immune to its effects would be telepathically dominated by the callous ruler. The Nerubians defied the king, with hit-and-run attacks on his strongholds. The spiders were even more infuriating to the Lich King because they were invulnerable to his plague and his telepathy. One of the Nerubians' greatest cities was Azjol-Nerub, ruled over by their powerful king, Anub'arak. Anub'rekhan was one of Anub'arak's most loyal commanders. However, the Nerubians eventually fell to the Lich King, Anub'rekhan dying alongside his king. While the Arachnids were immune to the Lich King's influence, he was able to raise them as undead after defeating them in battle. Anub'arak and Anub'rekhan, in death, became terrifying crypt lords in the Lich King's army. Their first mission was to slaughter their own brethren. When venturing into Naxxramas, Darian and his party actually defeated Anub'rekhan with an axe blow to the side of the head. But when your king is master of the undead, powerful soldiers like Anub'rekhan are unlikely to stay dead for long. Grand Widow Phaelina was in life a high-ranking member of Kel'Thuzad's Cult of the Damned. The cult consisted of living members of the Scourge. When proved worthy, members would be rewarded with immortal undeath. The living agents of the Lich King were used as spies for their master, and were instrumental in spreading the plague of undeath throughout Lordaeron. Phaelina in life was a botanist. Now in undeath, she breeds and looks after the spiders in the Arachnid Quarter, and preaches the cult's gospel to those who have not been found worthy of undeath.
Your old lives, your mortal desires mean nothing. You are acolytes of the Master now, and you will serve the cause without question. The greatest glory is to die in the Master's service.
She uses her skills as a botanist to create poisons from the spiders she breeds that cause excruciating pain for mortals. The undead seem to have a natural bond with spiders. Forsaken hunters will always start with a spider ally, and in the Hillsbrad foothills, Forsaken can be found helping the spider population grow in the area. Perhaps this is why Kel'Thuzad was able to bring the tremendous Maexxna to the Arachnid Quarter. Found within the depths of Northrend, Maexxna now produces an abundance of spiders for the Scourge army, with Phaelina making use of their venom for her concoctions. All those that step into Maexxna's lair risk being flung to the wall, cocooned in web and devoured by this giant spider. There you have it, the first episode of our 5-part series on Naxxramas. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not like, subscribe, and share this video around? Of course, if this video filled you with unrelenting rage, you could always hit the dislike button. Next time, we'll be looking at the denizens of the Plague Quarter and finding out what putrid horrors are created there. If you have any feedback, positive or negative, leave it in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, bye bye!